Y'all did it. Y'all got me to finally start JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I was doing all those reactions of it, hyping it up for the longest, but we're finally here, and we gotta talk about part 1, Phantom Blood. Now this was the introductory arc, but it kinda set the tone for what I should be expecting in this show. First of all, I didn't know it was set in the 1800s, and it has people like Jack the Ripper and all that. It's kinda like the mysterious side of the 1800s. Yo, if you stayed, I got a gift for you. Cause I heard mad stories about vampires, wolves, all that good stuff. And hear me out, they didn't have lights either. Albert Einstein was not a thing. That sounds mad scary living in the 1800s. But it's in the history class. First things first, we gotta talk about how sadistic and evil Dio Brando is. Even as a kid, look at this nigga. Just mean mugging everybody no matter what he's doing.
Y'all looking at.
But the show starts off with George Joestar, and he supposedly got into a little crash and everyone died in the crash besides his son. And this random guy finds him laid out and thinks he's dead. And he sees his mask in the suitcase, but he don't care about that right now. But y'all should. And this grimy nigga tries to rob George, who he thinks is dead, but George wakes up. And he thinks the dude trying to rob him is actually trying to save his life. So he swears to remain locked in, twinning with this nigga for life. And fast forward a few years, we see George and his son Jojo chilling, and we see Davio, which is the guy who robbed George back in the day, and his son Dio chilling. But Davio's low-key dying, and he says, when I die, bring this to George, because we was low-key locked in. And after he gives Dio the note, he lets him know, it's your turn, it's in the bloodline, it's in the family tree to rob them niggas of everything they have. So Davio ends up dying, and his son visits his grave. His son Dio, this little I don't know what this nigga is, and literally makes this noise right here and spits on his father's grave. I'm telling y'all, Dio is different. Just stick around to see the other atrocities this nigga commits. But Dio pulls up to the Joestar mansion, and George takes him in and says, you're my son now too, because I have so much respect for your father. But Dio's being sneaky, because this whole time, he's plotting to strip the Joestars of everything they have down to their boxers. And this nigga's literally bullying Jojo on a daily basis. Then we see that George is getting sick out of nowhere. This nigga just like spawned Ebola from nothing, I don't know. And Jojo's locked in studying that mask I talked about earlier. Pay attention, y'all. But Jojo finds the letter from Davio, and he sees the symptoms that his dad has are the same ones Davio had.
Oh, hell no!
I'm not gonna lie, he was onto something right here. That detective work was crazy. So it all clicks. He's like, it's you trying to poison my dad. Yeah, I caught you, now I'm gonna beat your for playing with my family. So he finds out that Dio is trying to poison his father so he can steal everything from them. Jojo pulls up to London looking for an antidote for the sickness, and he's trying to find some proof to throw Dio in the slammer. But my son is deep in the trenches, so we gotta hand out a few whoopings. He's on that type of timing with any and everybody. So after he gives them the work, he meets this dude named Speedwagon in London, and they become cool. Then we cut to Dio, and he's just ready to crash out. And look at this, y'all. He was off the Henny too. Yeah, GG's. So he's curious what that mystery mask does. So he finds this random and puts the mask on him. And we find out the mask turns people into zombie/vampire things. Then they both return back home. And look at this standoff, y'all. Yeah, that was tough. We get the little confrontation, and Dio's just like, yeah, y'all got it. You caught me. But let's be realistic. This is the same man who spit on the grave and murked the dog when he was younger. I ain't even talk about my son Danny like that, but Danny was Jojo's dog that Dio was bullying back in the day too. We know this nigga had something up his sleeve, so he murks George. George was a great guy, man. Always so positive and caring. I actually like George. But Dio uses the mask on himself. But they got all the police and detectives, SWAT team in there. So they lit this man Dio up like a Christmas tree. But nah. This nigga Dio got up and started going crazy. He was eating headshots, ripping heads off, jumping off walls. So Jojo and Dio start fighting, and Jojo got this plan to just burn everything. and they jumped off the ledge together. Oh no! And Dio landed right on this statue, and I'm thinking this might be it. Then it hit me, y'all. This is episode 3. So everyone thinks it's over, but nah. This dude tried to steal the mask, but guess what, y'all? Then Jojo links up with this shorty he was feeling when he was younger. I ain't even mention her, but Dio beat her up back in the day. He also kissed her, which I'm 99% sure that's not legal. Why are we not surprised though? And she's patching him up, and all of a sudden we see this weirdo following them talking about, you must be Jojo. Nigga, who the But he fixes Jojo up and he's like, let me show you this technique. And we learn he's trying to destroy the mask too, because he got a little history with it. His dad actually found the mask and it turned crazy, you know what I'm saying? A whole little backstory to that. And we learn his name is Baron Zeppeli, but for the sake of this video, we'll call him Led Zeppelin. So they heard of a Dio sighting somewhere, and I'm not gonna lie, they were on go. Look how quick they're ready to give somebody the beats. But they pull up and look who they find. And Dio really used a little kid to lure them in. We gotta talk about it though. He was using his brain, because remember, he's a vampire. He can't be in the sun. So he had the little kid lure them to a graveyard where it's dark. My son was on straight brainiac timing, but game is game. So Dio's just throwing straight minions and bench warmers at them. He's like, this is boring. Y'all suck. You can't with me. So he summons these 2 warriors from like 300 years ago, and they start giving Jojo, Speedwagon, and Led Zeppelin the beats. And they beat the first one, Bluford, relatively fast, but the other one, Tarukas, nah. My son was on one today. Led Zeppelin, knowing he's gonna die because of the prophecy, real nigga by the way, tests his luck and gets bodied. His arms were over there, legs on that side, hat somewhere up there. Did he even pull up in socks? I don't know. But before he dies, he gives Jojo all his power, and Jojo turned up and folded Tarukas. Then we meet a few of Led Zeppelin's friends, and the town they're at is under attack. And remember little bro Dio used to lure everybody in? Dio kidnapped this nigga's sister, and he leaves her with this big, fat, sweaty green slob. But nah, Jojo and the gang pull up to save the day. And one of the homies was like, yo, I got Dio. No you don't, gang. And then we get to see it again. Part 2, Jojo vs. Dio. And Dio's working him, but Jojo pulls out this sword that Bluford gave him after he defeated him and slices Dio all the way down. But notice how he stops at his meat. But nah, gang, that wasn't enough. And then Jojo got tired of playing. He charged up a little and boom! He folded Dio again. He's like, yeah, I did that. Y'all niggas can't with me. Stop playing with me. But what do y'all think happens? And after they thought they beat Dio for like the 5th time already, they actually destroyed the mask and smashed it to pieces. So everyone officially thinks it's over. And Jojo and his girl, they're on their honeymoon because they just got married. And we see these workers, they hear a little like movement in this box they're carrying, but they don't pay too much attention to it. They just came for the bag, you know what I'm saying? But they're on the cruise ship. And no joke, Dio shows up as a head. Yes, a singular head in a jar. We learn he's trying to steal Jojo's body, and they start throwing down once again. And Jojo's putting his all into this fight. But we all know this. All good things must come to an end, as Jojo blows up the entire ship. But he was too weak to get up. But look at the bright side. There's a baby on the ship, and he told his girl to take the baby and dip. But that marks the end of Jojo. He went out a real nigga. Yo, George hurt the streets with this one. But that's gonna cap it off for this Phantom Blood review. Let me know what else y'all want to see. I eventually want to do all the parts, but make sure y'all niggas like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'ma catch y'all niggas later.